Hello everybody, and welcome back to the next episode of Kerbal Space Program and what might be the final episode in our mini-series to Jool. So if you missed the last episode, we managed to get the probes to both Bop and to Pole, and more specifically we had a little encounter with the Kraken on Pole, so you have to watch the episode to see what happened there, but we managed to come out on the good end of things and managed to get that probe down on Pole successfully. So here we are with our craft here, the Jool Explorer. And there it is, just hovering around Jool. My god, that looks very nice. So what we're trying to do is line up our phase angle, but before we do that, we kind of have to fix our inclination here, because if you notice, we are quite off, we're skewed off the ecliptic there. So before we do anything else, let's go ahead and fix that. Now, a good way to judge where the ecliptic is let's set lathe as the target. Lathe is basically perfectly zeroed out and very, very much straight across the ecliptic. So if we line up with lathe, we can basically line up with Kerbin real easy without having to guess and check. So we'll go to the ascending node here, and we'll just put a little maneuver node just to make sure it goes down to 0. It's right about there. Okay. So we'll just get this ship pointing south. There's north. And basically that will fix us right up. Hopefully, of course. I always have to add hopefully at the end of everything. Alright, so let's go out to that. And it's only going to take 373 meters per second, which isn't too bad. Let's just double check our vessel tab. Yeah, we have plenty of fuel. 4,029 meters per second. So that's a lot of fuel. We can that's like twice as much as we need, so we can definitely make this burn here. Alright, I'm gonna guess this is around a minute and a half. Let's just do a test burn. It's gonna take about a minute, so we'll just get up to about 30 seconds there. And then we'll just go ahead and make this plane change maneuver. And we're just about there, and let's do it. There we have it. What a pretty little system this is. Adjusting our inclination down here, just to get this thing all nice and set up. It's funny, I was playing this game so much the other day that at night I had this dream that Lathe, one of the moons, the Waterworld moon, was actually a real moon around Jupiter. And this dream took place sometime in the future, and basically humanity had turned Lathe into like a resort world, like a paradise world. And we built up a bunch of resorts on the islands, and I was swimming in the water there. And I remembered that Lathe is very cold despite it looking quite hospitable. It's about 4 degrees Celsius if you go there. So I remember thinking, man, this water's cold. I don't really remember what happened after that. There was some kind of big battle that happened. I had to swim everyone to shore really quickly. But it was a very interesting dream nonetheless. But there we are. Basically zeroed us out. So that way, once we get out to Kerbin, it'll be a little nicer for us. So let's go ahead now and finally get this inclination, or this phase angle, down to what we need is negative 48.65. So we're almost there. Nav ball spinning out of control. Now, I don't want to miss it because I always seem to do that. So I'm going to try to get it as close as possible. Negative 48.6 is what we want. 6.5. 7, 6. There we have it. Negative 48.65. So that is the exact phase angle that we're going to need right there. So let's go ahead and set Kerbin as the target, and we should be right across. Now let's take a look. So this is more of like, if Jool is 12 o'clock, this is more of like a 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock type angle here. So we actually ended up right back on the dark side again. So since we are going in towards the inner solar system, we're going to want to put this maneuver node again on the light side of the planet. And hopefully when we make our escape, we won't accidentally run into any of these moons. That could be quite pesky. And looks like we got lucky here with this one. So I just want to kind of line this up right with that purple. And it's almost there. Well, that's interesting. That's a little far apart. What in the world? That should not be happening. Let's see. This is pretty much lined up perfectly. And so is that. That's very strange. We are going around counterclockwise. We are burning backwards in the orbit. Of course, the ascending node is a little off. It's not perfect. But still, that shouldn't be so far apart. That should be like dead on balls accurate. Because we are precisely where it should be. Jool to Kerbin, negative 48.65. Maybe it's just the phase angle is not quite right. 1.3, 0.5. No, that's basically right across. This is rather puzzling. I'm not really sure why it's so screwed up like that. Well, let's try to mess around with it and see what we can do. Like, I'm certain this should be, like, perfectly lined up. Oh, here we go. Maybe our angle's just a little off. Maybe because we're so far away that, like, it's just kind of messing things up. So that's a lot better. Separation 947,000. We gotta go this way. Separation 104,000. That should basically be it. In fact, I'm not really sure why it isn't. Maybe we're too low. Oop. It's making it a little worse. It's like so close. It's so close. Let's pull some of these blue toggles. Let's see. 457. It's getting worse. 483. Let's go back this way. So it's gotta be here. It's so darn close. It just doesn't want to do it. 194. Oh, that was something. Oh, there we are. Okay, what do we have? 14 million. That's us. I'm taking it. So that's interesting. We had to just... Basically what happened was it needed to be more this way instead of more that way. So that little tiny difference in angle really made all the difference. And I'm actually kind of glad I was able to capture that on video because maybe if you guys are doing this kind of by the numbers like I've always done it, you might have that problem too, and I'm glad I was able to actually troubleshoot it and solve it here on camera. Alright, it's going to take 5 minutes to get out there, and it's going to be a nice whopping 1,800 meters per second. So that's basically nothing. We'll be fine. So we'll burn it about 2.5 minutes. That should do it. That should do it for us, and we'll make our final, we'll say our final goodbyes, final adieu to Jool. It's been fun, Jool, but it's time to go home. Ooh, there's our mark right there. So that's us leaving right there. It's wild. Moving ourselves so fast forward this way, but Jool is just so big, it just doesn't look like we're moving anywhere at all. We're just kind of locked into space. Making our way back. Let's take a look. So basically we're just pushing ourselves out this way. Let's go at ×2. Just to get it down a little further. Maybe ×3. You can really start to see what's happening here. And even though we get a very nice grav assist from Jool, it still takes a lot of energy to break its gravity bonds. That's where, you know, people run into a lot of fuel problems if they go to Jool. They like kind of underestimate just how heavy this thing is, and it just takes so much thrust just to break its gravity bounds. That's why a lot of people get trapped going to Jool. I've fallen victim to that too. And again, that's kind of why I always over budget on fuel. We always end up with like twice as much as we need. You know, I'm sure if I did things a little more by the number, we would have the exact amount of fuel needed, but I tend to be less by the numbers and more how it feels, you know, which with a game like this can be a little dangerous, but I've messed up so many times that I kind of know how to avoid messing up now. I wish I would have started recording myself playing this game when it first came out. Like, I started playing this game around version like 0.13, 1.2, something like that. There was a lot of bugs back then. And like I said, there were no maneuver nodes back then. Or maybe I didn't say that. It was like early on in Kerbal Space Program, there were no maneuver nodes. So if you wanted to go to the moon, it was like a huge problem. Like, you had to just kind of guess the correct trajectory. But once they added these maneuver nodes in, it just made the game accessible for like everybody. You know, you didn't have to be Scott Manley or like a rocket scientist, you know, in order to play Kerbal Space Program, which was great. I'm so glad they did that. Finally, we've broken. So it took the better part of that, all that thrust, all that was just breaking Jool's gravity. But once we're free of it, look how fast this is coming in now. It only required an extra 300 meters per second. So it took 1,500 meters per second just to break Jool's gravity. And that's staggering. Okay. So I think we've gone past it a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just try to RCS backwards, and that'll just kind of get us in there. Just pressing the N key. Yeah, that's working. That's working real good. Use that RCS. Okay, so we've hit the limit. So we'll keep it right there at 14 million. And when we get to this descending node, we can further adjust the inclination if we want to. And we could also get this thing down a little bit further. So it's amazing that we didn't hit any of these moons on the way out. It's just a miracle. Let's get this thing out of here. We'll say our final goodbyes to Jool and the lovely moon system that's around it. See, where's Lathe? Lathe's on the other side of it. In one of these missions, we'll take a trip out to Lathe. I definitely want to go there because it's my favorite moon of Jool. The rest of them are pretty. Like, Tylo's alright and Vol's pretty cool, but Lathe is just where it's at. It's like the little home away from home. The Kerbin away from Kerbin. Goodbye, Jool. It's been fun, but it's time to go home. So we basically exhausted all the fuel in here and just started chipping away at this fuel over here. Which is nice because, you know, we used up a good portion of the fuel that we thought we were, and we have a little extra to make any corrections or, you know, just to bring the periapsis inside of the planet once we get there. And there we have it. We have now broken Jool. There's Jool right there receding away from us very quickly. Let's say our final goodbyes to it as it disappears into the vast inky void of interplanetary space. And now we have a long, long journey home. We spent about a year in the Jool system. Now we've probably got another 2 years back home. So all in all, this trip will probably end up being 6 years. Can you imagine being 6 years away from your home planet? I would not want to do that. And again, we are just at maximum warp, and we're so far from the sun that we're barely moving anywhere. But rest assured, we are getting closer and closer. Basically at an exponential rate. In fact, Kerbin's probably going to go around 2 times before we even get there. That's why this is so tricky and difficult, because it just takes so long. You're just waiting and waiting. 2 years go by. Just sitting in this for 2 years. Only it doesn't look like this. It looks like this. I would go nuts, personally. I would just go completely insane. Unless I had my computer with me and, you know, some entertainment. Imagine how many Let's Plays I could record in like 2 years on a spaceship doing nothing. That would be awesome. That would be super cool. Alright, so since this is taking so long, I might just do a little cut right here until I get a little closer, and then we can continue to adjust the angle there. Okay, so we are finally starting to make some motion here. We're picking up a lot of speed. Finally starting to see some apparent motion. So I think this would be a good spot. Somewhere maybe around Duna's orbit, we can start doing some little more corrections. In fact, we can preemptively set up a maneuver node here. Let's just see if we can fix this at all. We're at about Kerbin periapsis, what does it say, 32? I could have sworn that said 14. Didn't it say 14? Totally said 14. It's lying to us, that bastard. Alright, let's just try to fix this thing. Maybe if we pull inwards a little bit, that'll bring it to 33, which is worse, I believe. Yes, so we gotta go this way. 29. 23. So this is making it better. 22. So we're going to use that just basically as a, what's it called? A reference. We'll just make a burn in that general direction just to get that periapsis right down. Could have sworn it was at 14, but I guess I'm wrong. Or it's wrong, it's confused, I'm not really sure. There we are. So we'll just move a little closer to that maneuver node in 9 days. Jeez. Okay, that's good enough. And we'll just do this manually. We'll just watch the periapsis. Hopefully bring it right down. Looks like it's not really... Okay, so that's about the limit, 22. Now let's just see what happens if we put a node here at the descending node. Put a node at the descending node and make sure it's on the blue. I think that's on the blue. Let's see if we can adjust this. That'll bring us into 7, so we will do that for sure. Definitely. Okay. And that would be, I think, pointing north? Yes, pointing north. Finally increasing orbital velocity at a better rate here. We're literally just falling in towards the sun, picking up speed faster and faster and faster. Look at that. We were basically just hanging there before, but now we've really started to pick up speed. So we're just about at Duna's orbit. Here comes Kerbin. So this is Duna's orbit. Sun's a little bit bigger now. We're in Duna's neighborhood. Only Duna ain't there. Duna's over there. Coming in fast and hot. Or something. 3 more days. There's all the asteroids. How sad would that be if you smashed into an asteroid? That would be so unlikely, but how freaking crazy would that be? Alright, let's do this burn. Basically adjusting our inclination just a little bit, just to bring that right down as close as we... Ooh, there we go. That's about it right there. And we can continue just to correct. Let's see what happens if we pull to go faster. What'll happen is it gets way better. Okay. Good. Good, good, good. Wow, we're coming in at 11,000 meters per second, basically. That's stupidly fast. So we'll just try to get this thing even further. The closer we do it now, the less fuel we'll have to burn later. Bringing it right in. There we go. Let's just let's zoom in on Kerbin. Hopefully we can... Oh crap! No, it made us click on something. That's not what I wanted. Jeez. I just wanted to focus on Kerbin. Now we're at the far side crater. Okay, let's go back. That's not what we want. We want this ship. Sorry about that, guys. This game likes to freak out sometimes. Alright, I'm not gonna bother. I was gonna kind of see what we could do, but let's just RCS in here. That's right. Oh, we gotta do it this way. Okay. I'm gonna just RCS that right down, basically as close as we can get her. Hell, we might even be able to get this into the atmosphere right off the bat. Let's try that. Wow, that's great. Barely had to make any burns, and we got it right down to the atmosphere right there. So let's just go ahead and warp in. Get it in a little bit closer. You can probably start to see it now. That looks more like our sun. The star that we know. Nice and close, but not too close. And I think that's Kerbin right there. Yeah, I can see the moon twinkling. So we get a little bit closer. About to make our encounter. And that's us. We're coming in. We're coming home, baby. There's Minmus right there. Minmus, Moon, Kerbin. So which angle are we going to hit Kerbin at? Let's take a look. We're going to hit it. Wow, pretty close to the ecliptic. Not really, actually. But that's okay. We're going to swing around something like this, and that's okay. Ooh, the periapsis looks to be negative 88. It lied to us. I don't want it to be negative 88, because that means we're going to crash probably straight into it, killing everybody. Let's go for something a little more reasonable, like 30. Good thing I noticed that. I mean, it probably wouldn't have mattered too much. The G's would have risen to like 30, killing all the astronauts on board, but luckily that doesn't really happen in this game. Like I said, it probably would have been fine, but we want it nice and shallow just for realism's sake. There we go. Now we actually have a periapsis. That makes me feel a little bit better. Always makes me nervous when there's no periapsis, but anyway, let's get this thing warped in here. And so what am I going to do this time, guys? I'm going to eject the service module before we get into the atmosphere here. Because I know that we're fine. We're at periapsis 29. We're not going to need to make any sort of additional burns. So once we get in there close... Here we are. Basically what we can do is cut this thing off. I mean, everyone's inside here. We didn't need any of this fuel. It's a shame. You know, actually what we could do is put the fuel back into this tank, but no. I'm not going to do it just because I want this thing to be as light as possible, and with this being empty, that's fine. It's going to be pretty light. So, yep, let's get this thing cut off. We'll point it. Basically, let's point it away from us. No, we want Yes, there we go. And that thing will just kind of go alongside us. We're getting a frame drop here. Get away from us. Get away. Once it hits the atmosphere, it'll basically slow down faster than us and hopefully slide right by us. But for now, and that thing must weigh a ton. Now we've only got 7.5, basically 7,500 kilograms. That's not too bad. So here we are. We're coming in fast. We're coming in on a Jool return, which is super fast. Coming in here at 4,800 meters per second. We're going to hit this atmosphere fast and hard. And hopefully these things separate far enough apart. Where are we going to land? Let's see. We're going to probably land on the light side in this ocean right around here, which is unfortunately the opposite side of the world from the KSC. But what are you going to do? Alright, so let's see. We are starting to pick up some pressure, some drag. Atmospheric drag is 26. There we go. Just for realism's sake, let's point this thing at the retrograde. Oh, that's pretty right there. Wow. So we are braking hard. G-force 2.5 and rising, but not too hard, because we are pretty shallow, all things considered. There goes that thing. Oh, that looks so nice. View from inside. Pretty crazy. We are still decelerating. Wow. Oh man, hopefully we decelerated enough. Please come back around. Oh man. Alright, good, that makes me feel a little better. I was gonna say, are we gonna like slingshot out of the atmosphere? G-forces are dropping. What might happen here is we might have to make another pass, but rest assured we will definitely be fine, even if we do have to do that. In fact, that might even work out better for us, because then we might have a better chance of landing at the KSC. So it looks like we're actually raising out of the atmosphere again. Let's just see what happens. Our altitude orbit is saying, yeah, we didn't quite make it. We didn't quite brake hard enough. That's amazing. We were at 28 kilometers above the land, and we didn't quite brake enough. That's unbelievable. So we're actually skipping out of the atmosphere like a rock. And so is that thing. Let's see, that thing basically will do the same. It'll come around and have to burn up again. That's okay, we'll just do it again. We'll get a nice view of the planet. There's the moon right there. What a nice looking world that is. Man, after like seeing the desolation of the moons of Jool, this planet just looks so nice compared to it. I'll put the view like this just because it's pretty. So now we're swinging around again for our next pass. Coming across the day-night Terminator. Miraculously, we still have charge, and luckily because I put these things, photovoltaics, on, so that's keeping us charged up. Plus we have a massive battery in here, so that's also helping. Had a slight panic moment. I was like, uh-oh, are we out of power? Will these deploy still? I don't know, but yes, we'll be alright. We'll be just fine. No worries. So here we go again for round 2 of re-entry. And it looks like we still won't be by the KSC, looks like. That's alright. In fact, we'll probably be a little further, but that's, that's... What are you gonna do? Here we go. So this is definitely gonna work this time around. Yep. We are in. We are in. So, note to self. When coming from interplanetary velocities, it's best to sink yourself a little deeper in the atmosphere. Here we go, coming with some mountains here. This Jool series has just been like one mishap after another. Hopefully we don't land in any mountains. That would just be very unfortunate for us. Looks like the mountains are mostly to the north. Looks like we're going to land, hopefully, in some rather flat area. Maybe between these two peaks here. I'd really hate to crash and topple over and topple down a mountainside. That's not the way I'd want to end my Jool series. Here we are. Last bits of heat come off the spacecraft. As we are now fully, basically in the atmosphere now. Let's deploy our parachutes. As we descend through the clouds. Keep ourselves pointing right at retrograde in case we try to flip around. It's tough to see the surface because of all these clouds here. Plus it's nighttime too. Maybe we'll get some stunning visuals. Right alongside a mountain here. Right alongside 2 mountains. Whoa! What are the odds of that? 2 mountains. That's awesome. Wow, we are in such a pretty looking place. Alright, parachutes, do your thing. Nice. That worked quite well. I'm glad we emptied the fuel out of here, because this thing would have probably weighed a little bit more. And that would have been trouble. Would have been trouble for us. But down we come. At a nice gentle 5.9 meters per second. I was thinking of putting a drogue chute here for just extra parachutes, but I think that's going to be enough. Hopefully nothing should explode. Uh-oh, we're coming on a little hill here. Oh, wow. Okay. And that's us. We made it. Oh my goodness. That was a hell of a journey. Let's see. Can we do a crew report? Yeah, we've already got it from here, the Highlands. Wow. We made it back in one piece. None of the signs fell off. Let's see if we can do a pressure. We've already done a pressure. Let's see if we can log this. Hey, there we go. Got a little extra signs there. And these 2 are already logged. So let's go ahead now and recover the vessel. And let's see what we get. Wow. We picked up a nice 1,500 science on the mission, giving us a grand total of 2,965. And that's just from the stuff we brought back. I mean, keep in mind, we were sending crew reports and stuff from the surface of the 2 moons. But there's us. We got our EVA reports. We've got our seismic scan, gravity scan, temp scan, all 4 materials-based studies, and 3 goo containers worth of science. parts recovered. We only got 33% back because we were 1,300 kilometers from the KSC, but still, money's no issue because we have 3.8 million Kerbal credits. We got all 3 crewmen back, and for a total reputation of 969. So that's it, folks. There you have it. Let's take a look at the contract building. So what's the next thing? There's more rescue missions and more part tests. But here's something interesting. Explore Drez. Then we have the other moons, Lathe, Tylo, and Vol. And we have Explore Moho. So we have many options for next episode. The next episode of Kerbal Space Program. Let's all think about it. And next time you can expect to see some more of these things uncovered. So thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed my little mini-series here to Jool. I hope you guys learned something, and hope you really enjoy my videos. So we'll see you in the next episode.